Blessings, my people. Welcome back to the Daily Scoop. We have several major stories making noise across dancehall right now, and we are getting straight into them. We are talking about Mavado and Futype allegations surrounding their long-running fallout, Masicka and Skillibeng, Intence potentially reigniting an old rivalry with Skillibeng, Miss Kitty praising Masicka after his Barclays Center performance, Spice revealing that she is currently celibate while describing herself as a wife without the ring. Selector Tony Mataron making bold claims about Vibes Cartel and Alkaline. Foota discussing Sean Storm US visa and Singer J. Vanessa Blink calling for an all-female dancehall show at Barclays Center. Let's get straight into it. First, we're starting off with Mavado and Futype, where this falling out still matters. One of the biggest stories is once again the complicated relationship between Mavado and Futype. A producer and a social media commenter recently weighed in on why he believes Mavado has every reason to keep his distance from Futype. The discussion became interesting because some fans have asked a simple question. If Mavado was eventually able to repair his relationship with Vibes Cartel, why can't he also forgive Futype? But the argument assumes that every conflict is the same. It is not. The history between Mavado and Vibes Cartel was largely a public musical rivalry that became extremely intense. Mavado and Cartel represented opposing sides of one of dancehall's biggest cultural battles. But the relationship between Mavado and Futype was different. Futype was not simply another artist competing with Mavado. He was closely associated with Mavado during an important period of the artist's development. Futype has also spoken publicly over the years about his role in helping Mavado develop his career and connect with important people within the music industry. That makes any allegation betrayal between the two men much more personal. And this is where the producer argument becomes important. He basically said that people should stop telling Mavado who he should forgive. That is a fair point. Fans can have their opinion, but they don't personally know everything that happened behind closed doors. They were not there for every conversation. They don't know every disagreement. They don't know everything that happened between the two men away from cameras. And there have been serious allegations surrounding their fallout. Historically, reports have referenced claims attributed to Mavado involving in an alleged attempt to damage his property. Those claims have been disputed and allegations should not be treated as proven facts unless established by reliable evidence. That is important. We are talking about claims surrounding potentially serious criminal conduct, so nobody should represent allegations as though they are established truth. What we can say is that the fallout became serious enough that the relationship was never fully restored publicly. There was a time when Mavado and Futype appeared extremely close, then the relationship deteriorated, and years later people are still debating what happened. Futype has continued discussing Mavado publicly, including disagreement over how Mavado allegedly cheated some people who were around him during his early career. One name that has appeared in those discussions is Flex. Futype has questioned whether Mavado did enough for people who were there before the superstar became internationally established. But those claims have also been challenged by people on the other side of the story. So, where does that leave us? The lesson is simple. Forgiveness is personal. Mavado does not owe the public a reconciliation just because he and Vibes Cartel eventually found a way to move forward. The circumstances are different, the relationship are different, and the levels of trust involved is different. If two people were once extremely close, A betrayal can sometimes hurt more than an argument with an enemy. That is exactly why this story continues to generate conversation. Now, let's move to what could potentially become one of the most interesting lyrical situations in modern dancehall: Masicka versus Skillibeng. The speculation started after Massacre released lyrics that many listeners interpreted as a possible reference to Skillibeng. The word that caught everybody's attention was princess. Why? Because Vybz Kartel has previously referred to Skillibeng in royal terms within dancehall, and fans have connected that language with Massacre lyrics. No, Massacre did not necessarily come out and say I'm talking about Skillibeng. That's the important part. Fans made the connection, but dancehall fans are extremely good at connecting dots. Once the speculation started, social media became the battlefield. Skillibeng appeared to respond indirectly. He posted material that fans interpreted as him laughing off the situation. Then, somebody challenged Skillibeng directly. The message was essential: if you are talking about Massacre, say his name. And Skillibeng did something very interesting. He actually typed Massacre name. That immediately sent the internet into another level of speculation. Was he serious? Was he trolling? Was he simply playing with the fans? Nobody knows for certain. Then Skillibeng posted Massacre song on his Instagram story. Again, that could mean several things. It could be respect, it could be sarcasm, it could be psychological warfare, or it could simply be an artist acknowledging another artist's music. Then came the a cappella. Skillibeng delivered a performance without the traditional instrumental behind him, and fans immediately started dissecting the lyrics. People began saying, that's a diss. Others said, no, he's just freestyling. And this is exactly why we have to be careful. Until Skillibeng directly confirmed that a particular song is him at Massacre, we should not present speculation as facts. But one thing is undeniable: the tension has created attention, and attention is exactly what makes a dancehall clash interesting. But just when people thought the Masicka and Skillibeng conversation was enough, Intence has entered the discussion. Intence recently made a social media post using the word princess, and naturally fans immediately connected it with the ongoing Skillibeng controversy. Why is that significant? Because Intence and Skillibeng have history. These two artists have previously been involved in lyrical exchange. Back in 2020, their rivalry generated a series of songs and responses, with both artists demonstrating that they were willing to compete lyrically. So when Intense uses similar language years later, fans immediately start wondering whether the old rivalry could return. But here is the interesting part: some fans don't even want Skillibeng to respond. They are telling him ignore Intense, focus on Massacre, and that makes sense from a strategic perspective. If Skillibeng believes Massacre is his main competition at this moment, why allow another artist to pull him into a different battle? On the other hand, dancehall has never been known for ignoring disrespect. So, Skillibeng has a decision to make. Does he answer Intense? Does he ignore him? Or does he continue focusing on Massacre? Personally, if this turned into a three-way situation, the entertainment value could be huge. But the danger is that everybody starts showing subliminal without anyone actually dropping a serious record. And fans don't need endless Instagram posts, they need music. Now, let's talk about Miss Kitty. Miss Kitty recently praised Massacre following his successful performance at Barclays Center. She also spoke positively about Massacre handling an interview with journalist Dion Jackson Miller. This is an important part of the story because interviews can tell you a lot about an artist. Massacre sat down, answered questions, and remained composed. Miss Kitty appeared impressed by the way he communicated. She also made comments about artists who sometimes walk away from interviews when the questions become uncomfortable. And naturally, dancehall fans connected that statement with Alkaline, who recently made headline after leaving an interview. But let's be fair, Miss Kitty did not necessarily name Alkaline, so we should not automatically turn an observation into a confirmed diss. Fans may interpret the timing however they want, but that's different from knowing the speaker intention. What is clear is that Miss Kitty believed Masicka handled himself well, and she also defended the idea that an artist should be proud of his accomplishments. That is another interesting debate. Sometimes Jamaicans are uncomfortable when somebody praises themselves. We say, don't hype yourself, let people praise you. But the entertainment business does not always work that way. Artists have to market themselves, they have to promote their music, they have to explain why people should listen, they have to tell the world why their work matters. So when Masicka being confident about his accomplishments is not necessarily a problem. Confidence become a problem only when it is not backed by result. In Masicka's case, he now has a major arena performance that he can point towards, and that is something worth celebrating. Now we have selector Tony Mataron. Mataron recently made some very bold comments about Vybz Kartel, Alkaline, and his own position within dancehall. Mataron basically rejected the idea that the only person can carry the title of Dan. He went back to the early days when Vybz Kartel was developing his career and recalled his own influence in the dancehall environment. This is where selector culture becomes important. Today, younger audience sometimes forget how powerful selectors were. Before TikTok and Instagram, before streaming platform could make a song trend overnight, selectors had numerous influence. If a selector play your song repeatedly, that could help create a hit. Sound system were a major part of breaking record, and Tony Mataron has been around that culture for a long time. He also spoke about Alkaline, making it clear that he respects the artist despite whatever disagreement they may had. Mataron went further and claiming that he played an important role in supporting Alkaline early hit Champion Boy. Whether fans agree with that exact contribution or not, the larger point is worth considering. Artists don't always become successful alone. Producer help, selector help, DJ help, sound system help, promoters help, radio personalities help, fans help. And sometimes people who contributed to an artist's early success are forgotten once the artist become a superstar. Mataron is essentially reminding people that he believes he play a role. So let's recap. Mavado and Futype remain on opposition side of a complicated history, and fans should not assume that reconciliation with Vybz Kartel means Mavado has to reconcile with everybody else. Masicka and Skillibeng have fans watching closely with social media exchange and lyrical references fueling speculation about a possible clash. Intence has now entered that conversation, potentially reopening a rivalry that dates back years. Miss Kitty has praised Masicka professionalism and his Barclays Center accomplishment, while fans debate whether some of her comments directly or indirectly reference Alkaline. Tony Mataron is challenging the traditional idea of who gets to be called the Don while highlighting his own contribution and discussing Vybz Kartel and Alkaline. But no, I want to hear from you. If Masicka and Skillibeng actually clash, who will win? And if Skillibeng had to choose between answering Intence or focusing entirely on Masicka, what would you advise him to do? Let me know what you think in the comment section. Make sure you like, share, and subscribe. Until the next one, bless up yourself. Respect to Jamaica, respect to the artists, and respect to everybody keeping dancehall alive.